Sing it. Sing it.
They just say I'm not the baddest bitch you like. It ain't my fault that I'm out here getting loose. Gotta blame it on the goose. Gotta blame it on my juice, baby.
Bougie. It's talking about my generation.
Oh, happy hump day to you. I'm Yates. You're locked on to LRS102.com, The Walrus, Jyneration Nation, broadcasting live from the Launch Louisville studios, downtown Louisville at East Broadway, where Louisville's a rock stream. And I'm always excited, especially today, because I have a good friend up in the studio, Mr. Dennie Humphrey. How are you doing, Dennie?
I'm great. What's up?
What's up? Not much. We're going to see Phil Collins tonight.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're going to spend nothing
Beautiful.
but... It is beautiful. We're going to see nothing, or we're going to listen to nothing but Phil Collins and Genesis all day today. So if you've got favorites, that's what we're spending today.
All right.
Yeah, I have been a big fan for a long time. Of course, played your venues for many years. I've had some of the most epic gigs back in the day at your spaces.
Me too.
Oh, man. The Monkey Ranch, I used to live right behind there. So I'd just walk up there all the time and hang out. And I can't remember. I probably had about 50 bands play there over there.
At least.
At least, I know. How have you been, man?
I've been good, man. Monkey was a good era, though, buddy.
Monkey was a good era, yeah, and everything must come to an end.
Made
And
a
now
lot of
we're
connections.
rocking through Jimmy Can't Dance.
We got Jimmy's.
And you have new ventures, which I've heard all about. I want you to tell me all about them.
Yeah.
But first, I always do this to my guests. Do you remember how we met?
It's got to be at Monkey.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have the funniest story. I don't know if you remember this or not, but the Blue Umbrellas, they were an all-female group around town, and I had like the alternate all-female group that was like much heavier and rocker, and we were all like in competition with each other back in the day. Yeah, in our 20s, of course. And so I called you because I saw the Blue Umbrellas were playing upstairs at the Monkey Ranch, and I called and was like, "Hey, is Denny the owner?" Because I didn't know you yet. And I said, "Hey, I'm trying to get my band on a bill there." And you're like, "We don't hire bands." That's what you told me. And I was like, "No, I know they hire bands because I've seen the Blue Umbrellas playing around town and I saw them play there." And it was so funny. And then right after that, it was like you ended up hiring bands.
We were screening too then.
I know.
We had so much coming through and then so much neighborhood stuff.
Oh, I know.
We just
The
kinda
neighborhood
picked and
would
choose.
Yeah, and they gave you a hard time over there.
Oh, yeah, they sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did.
I was always mad about that. I'm like, leave my Denny alone, man.
I spent a lot of years real aggressive by that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the neighborhood figured out the right thing fit, and that all went away.
Yeah, no kidding. But it always made me mad because they wouldn't give the Barrett Bar a hard time. It was Baritones at the time.
Well,
or
man, the
whatever
Barrett
it
Bar
was.
closed for 2 years, and I thought at that point, we're like, come on, man, like, we're the only thing going over here. This corner is just, it's going to fall apart if you don't leave me
that corner's
alone.
been popping for a minute.
Yeah, it's great now.
I've been passed out many times on that corner.
I slept a lot of times in those booths.
Yeah. Hey, tell me real quick about the Hunter S. Thompson thing. Did it get vandalized?
Yeah, well, I got a call from Christina that owns V-Grits over there, which is great, by the way. And she said, hey, and she sent me a video of the guy doing it, and a real sketchy kind of video. But, within 3 hours, I got a hold of Rebecca Mathena with the Down Partner Development, and she turned us on to this Josh kid that has cleaned up more than 2,000 vandalized, buildings in the city over the last 2 years. So by the end of the day, 4 hours later, it was almost off, and WHAS was out there doing a news story on this cat.
Good. I meant to drive by there on my way out of here because I had Ron Whitehead on my show that day, and the first thing he said was, "Man, somebody vandalized." He's like, "I'm about to," he was fired up over it. And I said, "No kidding, they vandalized the Hunter S. Thompson mural?
Yeah.
That's crazy."
No, doesn't make any sense.
Did you ever figure out who did it?
No, but I'm hoping people look at it like it looked like he was put a fake beard on, and there's mannerisms to people. Like if you know somebody next to you, and even their walk or their run, maybe it'll come out someday. But I'm sure that boy's hiding somewhere right now.
He better be.
That went pretty
We're
good.
after him.
He got shared like 150 times,
Yeah, no kidding. Well, let's hope that gets cleaned up. Is that very? I mean, I'm sure it costs a lot of money to get something like that taken care of.
Actually, the city does that. So
the city does.
Downtown Development is a not-for-profit, so he came by and just did it for the love.
Wow.
Because Louisville's, kind of getting known for that. You know, there's a mural fest in the works. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of big stuff going on.
Everywhere I go, there's a mural. I mean, you know, just I come straight shot down Poplar, and I'm like, wow, I see murals all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I love the pixelated, you know, building. That one I've done video shoots and photo shoots in front of, and Louisville's cool for a mural, especially in the Highlands. They love
and it really
mural.
does show the uniqueness of us. You know, it's and there's a lot of deep ones out there too. There's a lot of, you know, meanings behind some of these stuff.
Yeah.
Even the Hunter S. Thompson one, the way they kind of flipped the whole script. You've seen him in the car before, but never in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
You know, kind of looking back on his life.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. And of course, we also had the most epic Bourbon Street, New Orleans vacation. Didn't even mean to see each other.
If I could randomly run into anybody in any city in the United States, it's going to be you.
Same.
We
same.
totally ripped it up, man.
Man. I tell you what, that is the most epic story for me because it was the first time I ever got to play Bourbon Street.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and you were with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And on the way down, it was funny because we stopped at a random truck stop or like rest stop in Alabama.
Yeah.
And I ran into somebody I went to school with there, which I grew up in a
randomly.
town of 2,600 people. You know,
Right.
My school group was like 60 people, so it wasn't a lot of people.
Sure.
Yeah, and so for me to run into somebody, and then Liz, who was with me, was like, I swear you're going to run into somebody when we get to Bourbon Street. And I said, girl, I've never been to Bourbon Street. There's no way I'm going to run into anybody I know. And literally, we had just got our room and dropped our stuff. And the first moment I step onto Bourbon Street, you're across the street. And she goes, I can't believe it. I told you would. You know. Anyway.
That was my 40th birthday party.
It was.
My 40th birthday. I was like, I've never been. First trip was to New Orleans, too. We had just really kind of gotten our rooms, too, man. Maybe within the hour.
Yeah, and
Decided
I'd
to get
never
out.
been either. And remember, you were staying kind of out on the outskirts, but I had a space right on Bourbon.
With the pool and everything.
Yeah, with the aunt and uncle too,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
loves
we're
you.
awesome.
They love
Right,
you. Aunt
right.
Poe and Uncle Tommy,
Yeah,
man. You
yeah.
got to meet my cool fam. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, but I remember you throwing yourself out there and getting on that stage like pretty quick. Once we walked in that one venue, you're like, can I play them drums?
Yeah. Well, do you remember? Okay, so what happened was we were walking by and there was a guy outside smoking.
Yeah.
And I stopped to talk to him, and I think we were probably 3 grenades and 4 hurricanes in about
easily,
this. Easily. Yes. And the guy, I got to talking to him, and he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a drummer." And he goes, "Oh, I'm the singer in the band. Remember?"
Yeah,
and he goes,
dude.
"If you come back later, you can pop on stage and play with us." And I was like,
Yes.
"Really?"
Yeah, that's exactly
and
how
then
it
we
went down.
left, went and got plastered, didn't pay it. I forgot all about that, right? And then late that night, we're walking back, and that guy saw me outside again and went, "Hey, you're the drummer. Get on stage." And I remember him saying, "Do you know any Guns N' Roses?" And I was like, every record, every song, which one you want? And he was like, "Sweet Child of Mine, here we go." And then I remember that night because my snare drum was doing like clock circles, and I had to focus real hard on how to hit the drum in the middle because it was so blurry. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Man, that was epic.
Lived it.
Yeah, we had so much fun. I'll never forget that. That's the only time I've been, and I want to go back.
Time to
It's
go
about
back.
time. Yeah,
It's
and
time to
you
go back.
You just said you're about to go
I'm
back.
trying. I'm going Panic 3 nights, Halloween.
Wow,
Voodoo
widespread
Fest and all
panic.
that stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Man, I teach a student right now. In fact, I'm going to teach him right after this. He's in his 50s. You might know him. He used to write for the Leo, the jazz pieces. His name is Martin Kasdan.
Man, I know the name.
Okay, he's a
Yeah, I know the
huge
name.
deadhead, right?
Yeah.
And he educates
I
me.
know him then.
Man, he educates me on everything. You know, he went to Tulane. Marty,
Yes,
Martin.
Martin, yeah, I know him.
Yeah, he wrote for the jazz pieces for long in the Leo. But anyway, he was telling me the story. He was down on Bourbon Street, and he went to Tulane, and he of course went to see the Dead back when they played there with Fleetwood Mac, and this is before Fleetwood Mac was the Fleetwood Mac we know today. It was back with Peter Green and Mick Fleetwood.
Yeah.
The blues band. And that is the night that Jerry Garcia and friends got arrested down on Bourbon Street, which they write about in the song
they
Truckin'.
totally do, yeah.
Well, he's hitchhiking from the show the next day, and he's thumbing, and somebody stops, and it's freaking Jerry
That's
Garcia.
crazy.
And he picks him up, and he
Oh,
says,
shit.
"Where you going, kid?" And he goes, "Oh," he couldn't believe it. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I came to your show last night. How are you picking me up?"
Whoa.
And then he said, he said he'll never forget. He asked him, "Do you think you'll ever come back to New Orleans?" They had just gotten out of jail,
Yeah, right.
literally. And he goes, "Probably not, kid." You know what I mean? And then here we are. Yeah.
Wow.
He tells me the craziest, coolest stories. He also was at Bellarmine when they played there in '68.
Yeah, I went to a big thing out of Bellarmine. They did like a seminar on that night,
Yeah.
It was really super cool.
Oh yeah, he gave me an original copy of all the music. He recorded every bit of it.
No kidding.
Yeah,
He's
so I have
got
a copy of it if you need it.
Super cool. I do.
Yeah, I'll get you a copy of that. Yeah, I'm a big Grateful Dead head myself.
Man.
I always have been.
It is my life. That's what it is.
Mine too. I sleep on a Grateful Dead pillow every night. I really do, two of them.
Awesome. It's the only thing constant. You know, I can always run back to them no matter what my life is going through. The Dead brings you back.
And you could listen. I used to have their Sirius satellite radio channel.
Yeah.
You could listen all day and
not hear a
or
repeat.
you could listen for 2 weeks and never hear the same
Better
song.
believe it.
Yeah, because there's so many live recordings of all that stuff. I mean, they did create their own sound. Is your love for the Grateful Dead the reason why you wanted to start Grateville?
Yeah. It and while that happened, it was like, you know, the 50th was a big thing, and it brought all the memories back. You know, when they got back together to do the one big show, and I went down to Abbey Road on the River with Ashley Angel, and
By the way, I ran into her the other night.
right on.
We were. I was playing Zanzibar with Freak Bass. I went up there to set in. He called me and was like, "Dude, come sit in. We got a cajon for you." So I ran up there to play.
Yeah.
And I do my little solo and I get down and then there she is and we start dancing. It was crazy. Yeah, it was fun times. It was super late.
I mean, we were literally leaving the last day of that. We just did it be some fun. She worked at Monkey Ranch at the time, and she said, "Hey," she said, "Denny, why'd you know Grateful Dead on the River?" I'm like, well, that's a good idea.
It's a great
I
idea.
thought about it, and then maybe the next day, I called Ashley Cox that worked for the Brown-Forman Amphitheater for the waterfront. I'm like, what are you doing on Derry's birthday, August 1st? She's like, well, it's open. So maybe it maybe been a 2-month turnaround. We had 1,200 people down there for the first Grateful Dead. Just by chance, we took a game.
That's crazy. If you hear drumming underneath us, it's going to be Phil Collins drum solos. So,
and by the way, we're throwing a Grateful Giving on November 30th over on at that church where the Squally Puppeteers are, Highland Community Center.
Oh yeah, I just drove by it.
So it's going to be a hot rider and solar flannel, and it's just it's basically going to be a food drive for Thanksgiving. So November 30th.
Awesome. I love that. Let's tell everybody what you're doing currently because I love this idea. I think it's awesome. I think Ray Rizzo or somebody was the first to tell me about it.
Yeah.
You have now purchased a second venue.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
My partners Brian Goodwin, Marie Zahn, and James Wise. We all going in there, and we're basically coming back into the neighborhood again, like what Monkey Ranch was once. I kind of miss that side of it. All of us kind of want to be back in the neighborhood setting. All the while, Jimmy Can't Dance is alive and well. But we're coming in and we're trying to just do a throwback to maybe a 70s style. You know, the concept is to get off your high horse and come in for a common drink.
I love
A lot of
that.
these
And it's
places are
called
getting-
High Horse.
It's called High Horse. Yeah.
I saw a horse that was high the other day.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you, it had red eyes. It was kind of fun. No, I'm totally
But
joking.
the building itself, like it's been a pub on the left side of this thing since 1908, off and on. It's the old Dewdrop Inn. I've been several places over the years, but Dewdrop has a history. And someone sent me a flyer today of a Conway Twitty concert.
I saw that.
You know,
Dave Williams.
Yeah.
He's been in on our show. He's one of my favorite drummers in town. Of course, you got to love Dave.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He's always posting these throwbacks of Louisville. And of course, I'm not from Louisville. Are you from Louisville?
Yeah, I'm from Louisville.
Okay.
I was reborn in Bowling Green though.
Oh, okay, right on. I went to Western
That's
Kentucky
right.
University, so I'm a hilltopper.
too, man.
Yeah, and
Me too.
my mom and my sister still live there.
That's how I did it all, man. I mean, I met them all there. I found Newgrass Revival, and then I could never look back.
Yeah, you were like Land of Tommy Womack, Cage the Elephant.
Yeah.
Bowling Green has an awesome
Government
music
Cheese.
scene. Government Cheese, that's right. I forgot
Pat
about
Haney.
them. Yeah,
So
man,
many
they've got a
good ones out
great they've got a great scene down there.
Yeah.
I always love going down there and getting
I
to
do
play.
too, man. It's
Yeah.
got something about it. Two types of people went to Western. Some would say it was a vortex. Others would say it changed their life. For me, it changed my life.
You know, I never got to live on campus. I actually drove there every day, an hour and a half.
Wow.
Both ways, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a toll road too, which killed me. It was like $1.60 per way every day to go
That's through
to
Glasgow?
school. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was through Glasgow. Yeah, I started in Glasgow and then kind of ventured on down to Bowling Green.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was studying music and communications, both of which I ended up doing.
I was
And-
sociology psych.
Was you really?
Nothing to do with business.
I love that.
I
Sociology.
minored in bartending.
I could not see you as a psych
my
major.
goodness.
Yeah,
I
although
didn't
I
know what I
love
was gonna
my
do.
psychology
Somehow I got
classes.
out of there. I don't know how I got a degree, but I did.
Well, wow, that's amazing, right? But yeah, I love that place. I always thought it was cool. But I dropped out to move to Louisville. I got a job working in TV for Warner Brothers, and
Yeah.
they've relocated me here. And that's what brought me here.
No WBKO for you.
Well, it was right. No. In fact, when I first took the job, I'd been in radio. I had ran Greg Martin from the Kentucky Headhunters radio
I know
show.
that guy well.
Yeah, well, I opened for them when I was probably 15. You know, Metcalf and Adair. I'm from Adair, so I'm right there next door. And of course, my father had played with a bunch of people, and Fred from the Headhunters grew up like following my dad around playing.
Yeah.
You know, my dad followed Marvin Maxwell from Mom's Music in Louisville up here,
right.
and Soul Incorporated. It was just all this like drummer love kind of stuff going on. And I got a gig opening for him at 16, and then was in radio, classic old country, and then went to the Big Dog in Camelsville.
Yeah.
99.9, and next thing you know, I'm working for Greg Martin running his blues radio show.
That's cool. I got to see him play with, Steve Ferguson's last kind of thing down there. Stevie Ray's and Greg Martin was on stage with him. But I saw Greg mostly with a guy named Michael Goff. Whatever time Michael Goff would play Bowling Green, Greg always played guitar on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Greg is like in every band known to mankind. He just is one of those. He never stops playing.
He's like Warren Haynes. He's like the whole crowd to anybody, but in a good way.
Exactly. I love Warren Haynes, man. What a great... We both have a lot in common with that whole... We love the jam bandy scene.
When I worked at Baker Street Cafe down there, and I met Tyrone Cotton over 20 years ago.
Who I played New York City with.
Yeah.
Right.
Shannon Lawson, Steve Cooley, the whole gamut. I met them all through Bowling Green.
Yeah, Cooley was on our show not too long ago. When I first moved to town at 21, he produced my band's first record.
Oh, really?
Cooley did, yeah. Isn't that wild?
He's still playing banjo?
Yeah, of course he is. That guy's never going to not play banjo. You know who else I got to play with over at Pride this year for the first time ever was Jimmy Brown.
Oh, no kidding.
I hired Jimmy Brown because I was like, I want the best bass player in town. And I was looking around. Now, there's a lot of great bass players in this town. But I had never gotten to play with Jimmy Brown. And I said, Jimmy, you want to play with like a bunch of chicks? Because we had an 11-piece band. And 9 out of the 11 were female.
No kidding.
Yeah. Basically, LaVon Fisher Wilson, you need to know her too, since you hire stuff. She has a group called the Queens of Funk and Soul. Okay. She's a big Broadway star. She was in Chicago and The Color Purple and Newsies.
No kidding.
She is based in Louisville, though.
Wow.
And I found her through a student of mine whose parents run Louisville vocal lessons, and they're big opera singers. And they knew her because she is a YPAS grad, and she went on to do some amazing things and still is. So she has an agent up in New York City, and
Very
she's
cool
always
she's back here, though.
Yeah. So she was like, I need to find this band. And they said, you got to know Jen Yates, man. She'll put together something. Chris, she knows every musician in town. And then next thing you know, I'm putting together a band for her. So we put together an 11-piece all-star band.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and Jimmy was on bass, and we did all kinds of cool funk stuff, and Jill Scott and Erykah Badu, and Aretha
awesome.
Franklin, all that cool stuff.
Yeah,
it was
he's a
super
legend,
rad.
man. He's a legend.
He is a legend. He was on the show, and he was talking about doing blow with the Rolling Stones down at the Hyatt in the 70s.
He I guess he performed with Ron on stage when they brought Hunter in town, and they did it down at U of L, whatever. And he said, when he found out the first Gonzo Fest we were going to throw, he said, I want to play this. He said, I met him one time. He said, it's the most bizarre, weird, amazing thing I've ever done in my whole life. And he just read around in the car with him all night. But he signed up to play that year just so because he had met him.
Wow, that's crazy. I should have asked him about that. Huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know he had met Hunter.
He's got a cool Hunter story.
Yeah, and of course Ron had all kinds
all of them.
I mean, he had all the drug stories. He was like, yeah, we had fun. And I was like, I bet you did. Yeah. So cool. This town is so freaking cool.
I mean, every time I turn some other direction, there's something I didn't know about it, and it's historic,
Yeah. Well, of course, being a transplant here too, I didn't really know. I've been here since 99, but I mean, I still missed a lot of cool stuff. So at this job, when I'm interviewing people, I'm like kind of retracing the steps back to Louisville music and where it came from. You know, Love Jones, those cats were up in here.
That was an era,
dude. They talked about
such an era,
man. And then the Slint Cats, and then we've got Jim James. Of course, I would love to get him on the show. All kinds of cool people. Sturgill Simpson.
Oh my, Sturgill, look at him.
I know, look at him.
He'll be the hottest dude in the industry this year.
I guarantee that. You know why?
He's there.
You know why? Have you heard some of his new record?
Oh my God, it's awesome.
It's totally different
I've watched the
too
Netflix
than
thing
anything.
3 times now.
Have you really?
Yeah, and you talk about rearranging music. It's one thing to know for you guys to know you put a record out, you're not making no money on it. You're just not.
Right. That's what I always assume.
I guess his people got together and said, "Fuck it, let's make an anime movie to go with it." So the thing,
yay, you cuss. By the way, did I tell you? Anytime you cuss, we put money in the change jar and we donate it out to charity to help the Louisville homeless.
I will help.
So we cuss for a good cause. You can't get mad at us. Yeah, that's
but
wild.
I saw, then he. I mean, what country artist or whatever, what freaking nature Sturgill Simpson is of
He is a
whatever
freaking
gamut
nature.
style he's creating
Yeah.
or kind of
He's so
I don't know what the hell
different.
he's doing, but he's on Joe Rogan.
I know.
You know, that was a cool interview, man.
Yeah. He's all over the place. I kind of love too that he goes down to like the CMAs and stands outside like
There's
singing
nothing
songs.
better than that.
Dude,
I watched
he
that
is
whole
a badass.
that Facebook Live that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I literally I was just enthralled by him just standing out there like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's cool. He didn't hate on Stapleton and them guys for doing that.
Right.
He just, I ain't got to do it.
Yeah.
And thank God, because Talent Childers ain't either.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? Have you ever seen Hedwig and the Angry Inch?
Yes.
Okay, it reminds me of Hedwig because in the film Hedwig, which is one of my favorite musicals, and I so want to play it if it ever comes around. It's the only audition I ever lost at Actors Theater.
Oh,
And,
really?
Yeah, I lost it to Jeff McAllister, but I mean, McAllister toured with Leonard Skinner and Hank Jr.
Right,
and
right.
you know, I'm like, you know, he deserved it, and he's with the Monarchs. I mean, how
Yeah.
long? 50-something years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
they're never ending.
I know they're never ending.
Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, I hope to find a band like that. It's just a never-ending corporate, you know, event
Right.
band. Yeah, because they make bank. That's where the money is. Those corporate events.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's why only money really for the local guys anymore, Harley.
Local, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's why I don't want to do a lot of bar gigs anymore. I'm just
Yeah,
like, you know,
it's just
God,
not a
I've
lot of
played
money.
everywhere here. Where else could I've played the Palace. I've played.
It's funny.
You know?
Jimmy's can Wednesday and Thursday open to public, so we got a budget. That's we can't go outside.
Right.
Friday and Saturday we charge $10, and I remember making the switch from coming from like the Highlands area and Monkey
Yeah,
to Jimmy's, and the only way that system works is if you give $10 for that proper band that night on the weekends or whatever.
Right.
And I'll never forget. I was talking to Allison, who runs the sandwich shop upstairs. She's like, Denny, she said something about like, well, should we let these people in, these people in, these people in? I'm like, wait, you know something?
Yeah.
I ain't got any friends.
yeah.
And she
Is that
looked at
not
me
in business?
flabbergasted.
Yeah,
She's like, flabbergasted. Like, what? You don't have any friends? She's like, you know everybody. I said, if they're my friend, they'll meet me at the bar downstairs.
exactly. Yeah.
And they pay the $10.
Yeah,
It only
of
holds
course.
70 people. You know?
Right. It's the same with me when everybody's like, "Oh, can you get me in?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "No,
You
you're
can't do it no
paying.
more.
This is my work. You're paying me
don't
to
even know.
come because I'm up there busting my ass for like 4 hours, 5
Right.
hours. Yeah. No, you're getting it. You know, every now and then I'll get a door list, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our rule there was like, we got to be 100 a man or it's not even worth it for anybody.
Yeah. You know, it is. I bet it is hard coming from the Highlands because in the Highlands, I'm blown away by Nowhere because
Yeah.
they charge $10 every Friday and
Yeah.
Saturday night, and people are lined down the street as far
Yeah.
as I can see. But all the other venues are you can't charge a cover, nobody's coming.
Mm-hmm. No, that's
You
what
know
it is.
I mean?
Like, if you got it, you got it. You know,
Yeah.
and even for a bar like that, I don't know if they even have bands or nothing in there, but hell, they got
They
so
don't.
much to choose from that it's,
Yeah. Yeah, I've just been blown away. That's an anomaly, I feel like, in the Highlands. As long
it's
as
funny
I've been
too.
here.
Like Monkey always was cool. We had a gay population that was strong.
Yes,
we
very.
didn't like
From
we
the
didn't say,
get-go,
hey, we're a
too.
gay bar.
Yeah.
It was just Monkey Wrench, man. Be who you are. Now,
Yeah.
self-proclaimed gay bars.
Yeah.
60% aren't gay.
No, I know. Oh, I know this.
take their
yeah,
$10.
Exactly. And even if they say they're gay, it's always people in there just scoping.
That's
You know
all
what I
it
mean?
is,
It's like
yeah.
couples looking for
Yeah,
a third,
right,
or
right.
it's kind of like Tinder, same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
Pre-Tinder.
man. Yes, pre-Tinder. Though, I think it's just because you were so gay friendly and you had people like the Blue Umbrellas, people like my bands. You know, you had the Troubadours of Divine Bliss, My
Yeah.
Loves. I
Oh
love
my
those
God, I
girls.
love those girls.
God, they had Church
There's
on the
not-
Rocks
there's not
every
a better
Sunday.
hug in the world.
Oh, I know.
Church on the
I
Rocks
got
was
cold
special,
chills when
man.
I said their name. Church on the Rocks and those Troubadours of Divine Bliss, they just make me want to be a better person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never met people as amazing as they
Yeah.
are.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
They haven't changed a bit.
Well, I'm supposed to go camping up in their ash,
You
way to
should.
the Heart Woods.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, and they've just built this beautiful like cabin on the property
Mm-hmm.
with fire pits, and it's like 100 acres. You can just walk through the woods. And
Yeah.
me and Nick played a gig up there not
Okay.
too long ago, and they invited us back. And
Very cool.
man, what they've got going on up there is so cool. And it backs up to the Hoosier National Forest. Around English, Indiana.
yeah.
Yeah, super.
They've lived up there for a while. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess as far as I know.
Dude, they literally bought some woods and was like, "We're gonna turn this into something awesome." And they
Yeah.
lived off the land, and they've traveled the world and played
Yeah,
music.
they're still vagabonds.
They are
You know
vagabonds.
what I mean? It's still,
know.
it's cool. Keeping
They're the
vagabonds
coolest
cool.
freaking people. Shout out to the Troubadours of Divine
Shout
Bliss.
out,
We
girls.
love y'all.
No doubt.
Come back to Louisville more often. I think they've been out on tour up in New York City,
Yeah.
but they're coming
I
back.
mean, they'll toss everything away and go to Europe for a while and just see
I
how it
know,
goes.
I know.
And they'll still busk.
I know. I know.
They used to busk by Honey Brothers. There.
Yeah, they were voted New Orleans' favorite folk
Yeah,
duo.
yeah.
They're street performers. Really,
That's what
that's
they
kind
are.
of they've formed their group from street performance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, what else is cooler than an accordion and an acoustic
Right,
guitar?
right.
And Amy, oh my gosh, her
talented,
vocals.
man.
They are talented. I've always loved those women, and they are some of the most creative, loving people. You know, my friend just passed away. They did her funeral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they officiated it and
Yeah.
sang, and they did the most gorgeous version of Elvis's. Oh my gosh, what was the name of that song? It was one of Elvis, "Love Me Tender"
Love
or
Me
something
Tender,
like that. Yeah, and just man, it was so gorgeous. They're just fucking
yeah.
amazing. Yeah, dang, I'll donate charity. I'll donate charity money for the Troops. As always. And of course, now I'm playing with Nick Payne, who's part
Yeah.
of the Troubadours of Divine Bliss crew, too.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Kentucky Beatniks, man.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. I was like, man, okay, you know how many bands I've been in over the years. It's like a kabillion at this point. I finally was like, how do I make money? Oh, yeah, I just two people.
Right,
You know
that's
what I
how you
mean?
do it.
It's the truth.
Call
Because
Jack White, see how it works out.
yeah, exactly. Jack White it. That's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
right. We do have a little bit of that going on, but we're way more like chill and groove. And we like to take, things that you wouldn't expect us to cover, like Lauryn Hill. And,
Yeah, yeah.
And put our twist on it. And we do a lot of hip hop and,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
That's cool.
you know what, though? Nick reminds me of Bev in a weird way.
Really?
He does. Like,
Yeah.
I lost Bev, and then all of a sudden I picked up Nick, and I was like, he would say stuff, and he would play music, and they both are bald. They're both LGBTQ. They are
Right.
both, like, fearless and just love in a definition of a human form. They both play piano and guitar. They both sing from their heart and soul, and
Yeah.
both are so creative. And so he would do things sometimes, and I'd be like, dude, you're freaking me out, man.
Right.
You remind me of Bev. Yeah, it's crazy. I love playing with him. He's super cool. He used to play your church on the rocks all the time.
Yeah.
I
A
think
lot
he
of
did
those
some
guys
stuff.
were real talented. I hated to lose those girls. Like things
Yeah.
move on. Is what they
Yeah,
do.
of course. Yeah, I would have too. I hate it when I don't get to see them very often.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I like spending time with them. They're just the energy you want to be around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I also lost Relic. I love those boys, the Bebo Hausers,
yeah.
all of them, Travis, the whole crew. But they played Monkey 7 years, every
Yeah.
Wednesday night for 7 years.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that had to go away. I almost cried on that one, though,
Yeah,
just because
I bet.
the history.
Yeah. Man, I have to tell you, I had one of the craziest gigs there ever. Of course, you probably remember it. Maybe it was the New Year's Eve gig, though. And the Troops were there. They
Yeah.
were opening for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had just went through this horrible breakup.
Right.
And I still had to play New Year's Eve with the girl.
I
And-
remember that.
Yes.
I totally remember that.
Well, it's weird. I just ran into her on last week or over
Right.
the weekend.
Everything good?
Oh, everything's groovy.
Exactly.
I'm friends with all my exes.
It
I
all
mean, they're
comes back
cool. There's a
around.
reason why we're exes, but
Right.
I still wish them well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it was crazy that night because the band was like, "Okay, Jen, you have to stay sober." They were like, "You can't drink," and I'm like,
Don't
"Oh,
lose your
it's
shit
New
on
Year's
this
Eve."
one.
And so I know, and so I needed a date. I was like, "Gosh, she's bringing a date. I can't go up in there and look stupid and not have a date when she does," and. That was wild. And they like separated us at midnight because the kiss is coming, the big kiss at midnight.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Jen has to go in this room. And no, actually, they let me stay on stage and they pushed her in the next room for the big kiss because, and so I picked up a date that night and ended up dating that girl for a long time. Yeah. It was
Worked
wild,
out.
man. Yeah. So afterwards, they're like, we'll take you out and get you like wasted. And they did. I made it through. But honestly, that was one of my best nights I ever played. And after that, I pretty much played sober for the rest of when I was out with Kelly, I had to sign
Yeah.
a contract that I would not drink for a year.
Oh,
and I
really?
didn't. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't drink a drop.
Probably the
while I
best
was
thing
out.
ever happened, man.
It was the best thing that ever happened. Bev didn't drink. She refused to do anything like that. And
Yeah.
then, of course, when I met Julie Wolfe, who took me to L.A., also she drank, but only
Yeah.
because when a lot of people don't understand when you're a musician, that's your work. You're
Yeah.
working when you're playing.
Yeah.
Everybody else sees you as having a good time. You're the entertainment, right? But
Yeah.
no, everybody else gets to have the good time. I'm back here hauling in equipment, making sure we sound good, making sure I know my shit.
Yeah.
all that.
Well, I mean, even like for me, for say New Year's Eve, right? I mean, it was 19 of them before I actually decided to take off and go enjoy one because I was always
Yeah.
in the industry. Same thing with
Exactly.
the bartender owners. Like, it's not quite what you think.
No, you're there for the
6
party.
6 in the morning.
You just
when
don't
you
get to
out.
enjoy it. You're actually physically
You host
working.
it.
Yeah, yeah. It can be mentally exhausting sometimes too. So I'm like you. Lately, I've just been. I don't want to play a ton because teaching is my breadwinner, and I can pick up side gigs here and there with just about anybody in town. Everybody's always needing a drummer, and I want my weekends free to enjoy them.
When
these
there's
days.
no money in repetitiveness. When you start
Right.
playing too much, you're playing too much.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And I'm like, oh, what's a couple $100 here and there?
Yeah.
I'm like, I can miss it and just
Yeah.
enjoy it. I'd rather have my time and not
Yeah.
money, just because.
Like me and even the new the Jimmys now in the world I have such good people and partners around me that I get a little bit of a life now. The
Yeah.
Monkey was just me. There was
Yeah.
I had great staff, but it was ultimately all on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Now, like Dark Star's in town on a Monday night, I'm going to see Dark Star.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
If anything comes up, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah,
don't
you and
feel so
Clayton
tight.
have teamed up from Dark Star
Yeah.
TV. He's
Yeah.
here in the same building. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's actually going to help me with I have a new solo record that I've been working on for a long time, and I have a new video that I'm working on called Jesus
Oh
Freak
man,
502.
Clayton's the best, man.
Yeah, he's
Clayton's the
gonna
best.
hook it up, and I have a lot of crazy things I've thrown at him, and he goes, "I love that idea." I'm like, I
He
can't tell
moved
you.
here for Hunter S. Thompson. He moved here for Gonzo Fest
No, I had no idea.
because he was such an enthusiast of
What?
Hunter. Yeah.
No kidding.
So
Tell
he
me that
moved-
story.
He just kind of reached out to us, and we were several years in. We were actually moving it down on the waterfront. That's the year we brought Juan Thompson finally in, and
Mm-hmm.
he was an integral part of all that connection of the actually knowing Hunter's family and
Yeah.
making Gonzo a little bit outside of the box more than it was at Monkey Ranch's parking lot.
Yeah.
And so him and Ron hit it off real well. So he just ends up moving here, and he worked a lot with that, and
Yeah.
now he's the real strong force of Grateville Dead. So much so that he's a percentage owner now.
Yeah.
He does
And he's
all his
cool as
marketing.
hell. He's back here in this building. I go back there
He's
and talk to
cool.
him all the time.
And
And
the coolest wife on the planet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I haven't met his wife
she's
yet.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Wait till you meet this one.
Oh,
Yeah.
can't wait.
Yeah.
I love a good fun
She's
chick.
awesome, man.
Yeah. No, but he's got this really cool setup back here with the green screens
Mm-hmm.
and the everything. I walked in. Of course, I moved in here for television, so I'm all about like video production
Mm-hmm.
and audio production. And I was like, holy crap, you've got a great space, and I'm about to do this video, and I've got all these ideas.
He also he created Grateville Dead. It's called Grateville.com right now, but it's
Yeah.
our site, and you can see all his work on there. He live streamed all the concerts. He live streamed. He live streamed a bunch of Jimmys.
Yeah, I love
He
that.
got Jimmy's a lot of attention just by doing that live stream.
Yeah, man, you got some cool peeps down at Jimmy's. I mean, everybody
my
I saw.
God.
Mike Hood was up in here talking about it.
man.
Ron, of course. I can't even remember everybody, but it's like every time I turn around, it's either like John Austin Clark or somebody's posting that
You
they're
look
at
at Mike
Jimmy's.
Hood. Mike was the house pianist for Lafitte's on Bourbon Street for 10
know.
years.
I know my favorite freaking bar
Yeah.
in the country
And he
is
fits
Lafitte's.
our basement fine.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
I forget who was it. He was telling me he met there one night and she was flirting with him, and they were all like, "Oh, she's single. You got to go after her." She was a famous actress.
I don't even remember.
Oh gosh!
But I know the
Anyway, it's
story.
on our
Yeah, I
interview.
know
It
the
was
story.
great. Yeah,
I know the story.
Yeah, Mike one night we got ripped on moonshine a long time ago, and I ripped him a new one of the first nights that I met him because he was flirting with some people that were with me.
Yeah.
and they were not interested. And I was like, "Oh!" I kind of went at him,
Right.
and then after that we became great friends.
Yeah.
I was like, "Sorry, man, I was drinking moonshine."
Right.
That's what I love
Solid
about
one.
dudes. They're all like, I get it.
Funny.
I get it. Been there, done
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, listen, Phil Collins is in town tonight. You know this, and you said you're going to try to
I
go.
want to try to get one of those street tickets.
I know. Well, I hope you do because I have a hot date. And
Yeah.
I'm going with several people, and it's going to be really fun. And we're going to play nothing but Phil Collins today on this show.
Yeah.
And we're going to kick it off with Genesis and Invisible Touch.
Right
It's Phil
on.
Collins. Yeah, it's Dennie Humphrey and Jen Yates. Stay tuned. You're locked on to LRS102.com, The Walrus. It's Genesis, Land of Confusion. You're locked on to LRS 102, The Walrus. I'm Jen Yates, joined by Dennie Humphrey. How are you doing, Dennie?
Great. Just having fun.
I meant to tell you my Aunt Po said she's listening to you, and she said
What's
to
up,
tell you
Aunt?
hi, Aunt Po.
Hey, girl.
Yeah, Aunt Po loved your fried green tomatoes. She still gripes. She's like, they're still not as good as Denny's fried green
I miss
tomatoes.
those. I miss those.
Oh man, me too. Yeah, I when they would come to visit me, I would always take them over to your Monkey Ranch. Yeah, or Jillian's or whatever
I'd don't miss the cooking.
They also
but I miss those.
They loved the Connection. That's
Yeah.
where they loved to go.
Yeah,
And so
what a
we would
great
always.
place.
They used to come up and go to the Downtowner. I've heard so much about that place. And Aunt Po called me the other day, and I was like, I want to come up and go to that play. And I was like, I will take you to play. Y'all will love play. They're a trip, aren't they?
Yeah, they're awesome.
They're the ones who were in New Orleans with
Yeah.
me when
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
they love to have a good time.
It was
And
a
they
good
love
time,
New
man.
Orleans. They used to go every Mardi Gras with all their friends and stay at the Inn on Bourbon. So I've heard all these amazing stories about
I'll never forget that pad they had though. It was a good layout.
the Olivier House
Yeah.
is what it's called. It
Yeah.
was we had trees growing through our room. That was the coolest room ever, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly it was super haunted. You could tell too when you walked in.
Yeah,
It was
I
like
think
this
that whole
old
town
Victorian.
is. You know,
Oh, I'm sure.
You just feel it everywhere.
It's the town of voodoo, man.
Yeah, right.
Voodoo unto others as they before they voodoo unto you.
That's
you know,
right.
it is Maria Landreau.
Did
is
you
that
ever
how
get
say
to go
her
in
name?
that the Preservation Jazz Hall? Have you seen
Oh,
the
yeah.
show there?
Oh no, I never got to see a show, but I went in.
Oh man, it's so cool. And then years later, through Patrick over at on the place for Jacket, he hit me up one time. And he said, "Hey, all these guys are in town. Where should I sit on for lunch?" I said, "Let me cook for them." So I set the Preservation Jazz Hall band in the bar area of Monkey Ranch at one big table, and we cooked a Southern spread and broke bread together. And it was one of the
Yum.
coolest things I've ever done in my life.
I bet.
At the end of it, I'm hugging these guys, and we were talking moonshine and country and stuff. And as they were leaving, the girl that runs them, her name's Gia, she said, "Hey, next time you're in town, Preservation Jazz Hall wants to take care of you like we did, or you did us." And I did, and every time I go down there, she's like, "What do you want?" They
I
just kinda
love
treat
it.
me like a king in there.
Oh man, I love it. You know what I miss about New Orleans more than anything is those charbroiled oysters.
Oh my God.
God, they are the best.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Felix's.
actually went out to. I was eating at Captain's Quarters the other day, and I did not realize that they had the
They have,
charbroiled. Yeah, but they're still not as
They're
good
not
as New
New
Orleans.
Orleans,
No,
yeah.
you just can't top them. You know what I mean? I
Nope.
could literally eat those all day.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, I mean, you're throwing me back to all kinds of cool stuff. Of course, we were talking all things Troubadours of Divine Bliss. Oh, we gotta love the hospital district down them. Let's
Is
hope
that
they're
them
okay.
or us?
That's them. I know, right? I hope they're. Yeah, definitely. We don't want them after us. Yeah, no, but we've talked a lot about New Orleans just because it's one of our favorite places, and I do love all the voodoo stuff.
Yeah.
Every time I go down there, I love to go in the little voodoo shops and
Right.
like check that stuff out, and man, and watch the music. The street performers alone
Right.
are so cool. I think it was the 10 Whiskey Sisters. Do you know them?
Mm-hmm.
They were up in here the other day, and they were telling me a story about being in New Orleans, and they were talking about being on, I think it's Royale. Where is it where everybody sets up and they read the cards and all that in front of the
That-
big statue?
That's not.
Or a church.
Frenchman is not set up, so it'd be the side. You're probably
Yeah.
right, Royale.
Royale, yeah. And they were talking about, there was a lady down there that was a poet busker. And I said, "What's a poet busker?" And they said she set up a table and she had an old school ribbon typewriter. And she'd be like,
I'll write a poem about you.
yeah. And
yeah.
she would type it out for you to take home. And
Yeah.
I was man, that sounds straight up New Orleans. That's just crazy. What the?
I used to tell people all the time, like, Louisville's the coolest city in the world.
We are.
And then I'm always like, okay, we are technically the second, but we're really close.
Yeah, yeah,
It's New
exactly.
Orleans.
Yeah, and there's a reason we keep Louisville weird because there's
Yeah.
a lot of weirdness around here. And I
Yeah.
kind of love that. But it is such a cool city. We have such a cool music scene. You know this from anybody.
I mean, and then I was talking to Michael Jones the other day about the whole jug band. We're the home of jug band and ragtime music,
Mm-hmm.
and both those genres existed before the term jazz even hit.
Exactly.
And he explained to me, he said, "Denny, what you don't realize is the internet back then was the Ohio.
yeah.
So all the cultures were crossing,
Yeah.
and music was coming up and down. So we have every bit of that history of music as New Orleans has."
Yeah. Are you talking about Tom Sobel?
No,
Okay.
No.
The guy
Mike
who runs
Jones,
the
he,
yeah.
he runs it, but Mike wrote the book, the
Yeah.
actual physical book on the history of jug band and Earl McDonald.
Man, who didn't love a jug band?
Gosh.
I go back. What's that Christmas movie that's got that like
Emmett
chipmunk-
Otter's Jug Band
Yes,
Christmas. It's my favorite
That's
of
my
all time,
jam.
man.
Me too.
Favorite of all time.
I knew I loved you for a
Yeah,
reason.
it's the
Yeah,
best.
that's where I learned what a jug band was. I learned that before I even learned about jug bands in Kentucky.
Right.
Yeah, they're like
I watched
playing
that. I remember watching that in E-Town, Kentucky. My family had an outhouse,
Uh-huh.
and they had one of those cedar trees with all the tinsel on it. So it was a cedar rounded tree. It wasn't even really a Christmas tree looking.
Mm-hmm.
It was that, but they had cable. An outhouse with cable. That's easy.
That's
That's
crazy.
Kentucky for you right there.
That's straight. That's
But I watched
hillbilly
Emmett
swagger
Otter's
is
right
what
there.
that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right on.
Yep.
Yeah. That's funny in E-Town, you say? Because I'm an hour south of E-Town. So if you want to go even more country, you
Yeah.
just,
I'm the first Humphrey to ever sell booze legally.
Are you
But
serious?
all of them were bootleggers. My
Oh,
uncles
cool.
and my grandfathers, they were all bootleggers.
Yeah,
back
it
in
makes
the day.
sense. Where I'm from, they still kind of hide that. They literally give you directions. My cousin, this is funny. I have to tell you this. So there was a TV show on the History Channel called Backyard Oil,
Mm-hmm.
and my family are 6 generations of oil and water well drillers. In
Uh-huh.
fact, if my grandfather had a patented the drilling rig,
Yeah.
he'd probably be a lot more,
Right.
a lot better off.
You'd be
you know
living
what
in
I mean?
Texas.
Yeah, because they back in the day they had horse powered mules and everything, and he has designs. I have books that my grandmother wrote about it and showed pictures of like them drilling with
Interesting.
mules and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, my great grandfather was the first person to drill oil in the state of Kentucky.
Wow.
Down there, South Central, and there's a funny story about that. When they hit it next to a river, because I grew up in between Green River and Lake Cumberland. And my other grandparents used to run the campgrounds at Lake Cumberland. So
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
always go fishing. I was an outdoor kid, So
Yeah.
anyway, the oil rigs and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know where I was going with that story. Oh, South Central Kentucky. Yeah. They pretty much, we had outhouses all the time. They were doing all kinds of just cool stuff with all that concerning that. But where I'm from, there was a show called Backyard Oil on History Channel, and my cousin Mad Dog is in it, and he goes to pick up moonshine, and they give him like a piece of paper, and it gives him directions like go out 80 and turn right by the oak tree and left by the church, and like those kind of directions, the country directions. And they take him to a river, a little creek, and he's got to like find this like wire line,
Where the
in
moonshine
the
is?
thing, and he pulls it up, and then they find the moonshine. Like they leave it, and then he'll leave like money under a rock. That's how they do it in the country. Either
That's
that, or
funny. Yeah.
we did have a bootleg. I went to the bootlegger all the time. It was in White City.
Yeah, my
Probably still
grandfather
is.
would make it, and my cousins and uncles they would drive to New Haven, Kentucky to get it. So they
Yeah.
would just cross the border and they'd go in. They'd take us and call it the candy store. And
Yeah.
you come in the back of this old liquor store, and the garage would open, and we get moon pies and candy sticks and whatnot. We didn't know they were piling the station wagon full of booze.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
We were decoys.
Yeah, well, where I'm from, there was just one little loop in this like trailer park, and you had to go up to the back of the trailer, and like somebody would run out all scary and be like, "What you want?" It was like $1 a beer and like $5 a pint
So it was.
wherever you are.
And there was Kentucky Gentleman bourbon they sold and Sterling beer.
Yeah, Sterling beer. That's
Sterling
right.
beer.
Sterling. Yeah, people love that stuff, or Schlitz or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild, man. They still now Columbia's actually gone wet.
Yeah, yeah.
or moist or whatever. it
Now
is.
my family had state dock forever.
Yeah.
So to watch, and there's a couple of places on the lake now you can buy booze. I think Jamestown's wet too now.
Yeah, Jamestown. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, used to. I remember over at Lake Cumberland. I mean, all my friends would work over there on the boats, and they literally would dolly in hundreds of
God.
cases of alcohol, or
everybody,
whatever. Yeah,
You got full families renting in boats for the week, and they're
Yeah.
just partying.
Exactly. At any given moment, though, if you go to Tommy's Tavern, where my Aunt Poe and them live, you could probably find about 10 jars of different moonshines. Now, my
Great.
uncle, he is like very anal about his moonshine. He doesn't like the flavored kind, and he shows me how to turn it upside down the mason jar and shake it. And if it's got less bubbles, he's like, "This is some good stuff." And then he shows me how you can take the spoon and light it on fire, and you can tell how good the moonshine is, right?
Yeah.
Where we're from, he's like very anal. He's like, "Don't buy any of this store bought crap." He's like, "You
Right.
got to get it
It's
from
not
the
even real.
ridge." Yeah, one of the distilleries and whatnot, and they'll hide those things out in the country and in the woods and stuff, under
Yeah.
caves and things, and make their moonshine, man. But I was always, when I was drinking heavy, I loved moonshine, and I love
It's the
because you can just
nostalgia
sip
of
it.
it. I like
Just
the
nip it.
nostalgia of it too. If you have people over your house, like, here, try something. We had some
Yeah.
like my family's recipe I've had for a long time, and I just like to share it with people.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I like kind of a flavor to mine. I like a peach, or I like a cherry, or a watermelon, or something. Anything's good. Apple pie.
Apple pie.
In one of the songs on Hillbilly Swagger, I say we've got that apple pie in the refrigerator. I'm not talking about pie, y'all. I'm talking about moonshine. Yes, yeah, because they always keep apple pie moonshine in the fridge. Yeah, so good.
It's
Gosh,
so
yeah.
Christmassy.
It is. I know. It's year round where I'm from, though. Yeah. Everybody loves some moonshine, going and riding out on the farm and lighting up a bonfire and drinking some moonshine, listening to George Jones. That's
Sounds
what they
amazing right now. The weather outside is perfect for that.
do.
right now.
I know. I'm a country girl at heart, so I'm a country girl stuck in the city kind of thing. But I like the crazy of the city.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I like
Me
to
too.
get up at, I'm a late nighter. There's nothing. In the country after 8 o'clock, everybody's gone.
Everything. It's
Yeah.
kind of like Portland.
Yeah, I know, right? We need a ba-boom cha. Yeah. What do you think about Phil Collins, since we've been kind of talking about him
Man,
today?
I love him. He's just been a part of it. I can't remember ever personally buy none of his. He's one of those guys I didn't buy none of his stuff, but you know every one of his songs.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of like Mellencamp.
I know,
I
it is
might have one or
Mellencamp.
two Mellencamp albums, but I didn't really need it. It was thrown at us.
Yeah,
You know?
I remember when we got No Jacket Required. I remember looking at the front, and I was always a huge Genesis fan and a Phil Collins fan because obviously I was a drummer. I was
singing drummer, man.
yeah, singing drummer, my idol. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and not only that, but he was in the forefront of the leaders of the electronic drums movement. You know,
right, yeah.
he has some of the earliest. If you listen to any Genesis or any Phil Collins, you're gonna hear electronic drums. That's what I'm most excited to see tonight. Is who is playing his drums? I hope it's Charlie Parker. If it's not him, I heard it may be his son. I don't know.
Yeah.
because I think he's physically ill and he cannot play drums anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bev and I did a tribute to him for In the Air tonight because we wanted to pay tribute to him, and I was like, man, what cooler song could we do than the one that's got the famous drum solo in it? You know, it's just me and you, and I can recreate those drums and machines and put live drumming over top of it. But that's what he would do. He would program a lot. You know, In the Air tonight, that beginning, that's all electronic drums until the the big famous solo.
Yeah.
And then when the solo hits, it's real drums
Yeah.
over top of it.
Yeah.
Acoustic drums, we call it. So I was always a geek, a geeky technology kid. And I loved, my dad was very techie, and we had a big shop, and I would always be hooking up electronics and things. And
Yeah.
I was always trying to booby trap the house to, I almost killed the mailman one time, booby trapping the house on Halloween. But yeah, I was always hooking up stuff to try to I was very inventive and visionary as a kid. And I just remember, being like having those Octagon Simmons pads, those old school electronic 80s drums, hooking those up and being like, how does he make these sounds, But even in Genesis, they were really in the forefront to that stuff. And Peter Gabriel went on to still do that stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most of his, I guess, his solo stuff is all got that electronics running through it.
Yeah, well, they were one of the, I guess, from the beginning, they were one of the first to make that.
They are, they are, and they're some of the first to use those machines. Those machines. So electronic drums have been in our music since 1980. Hall & Oates is actually credited with the first one, I believe.
Okay.
And then, of course, you did have Mellencamp. Kenny Arnoff. If you listen to Jack and Diane, that is one of the first electronic drum solos that we have ever heard in music, and that's what made it sound so different. I feel like every generation has to have their own unique sound, and I mean, every band has to have a unique sound because if not, we don't remember them. But I feel like, we did rock and roll for a long time, and we heard that sound for a while, and then, we like this sound, and then I feel like that's why electronic took over. Dubstep had a different sound to it.
Yeah.
Now we've got a different sound with all the sub bass, everything, the trap beats, the fast hi hats, and all this.
Well, I forget the human beatbox is patterned after the beatbox.
Yeah, exactly, and that's basically what it is.
Yeah,
there's a setting on most drums that say. On most electronic drums that say vocal drums, and it's either the person singing the note boom, 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 or something like that, or it's that exactly what you're talking about, like the beatboxy sounds. Yeah, I was always fascinated by that as a kid too.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, are we around the same age?
I'm 47.
I'm 41. So we're okay. We're in the ballpark range. I'm loving the 40s. How about you?
Man, I've had a great 40s. Man.
I know.
It's been a good run. It's only getting better too.
I know. Well, mine's finally starting to get better. I feel like I had a mental breakdown on my 40th birthday last year. Yeah, I was just,
my
I
early
just went
40s
through
were-
too much stuff.
I went through some crazy stuff. Early 40s.
Yeah, that was me too.
That all goes away though.
Yeah, but now I'm 41 and we're rocking it. We're rocking it out.
Yeah,
But
right.
I felt like there was too much loss. There was just too much going on. It's too much for me. I was about to be a peace out. You know what I mean? I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it just got really good. And I told you last weekend or a couple weekends ago, I went down to Nashville and got to do.
Yeah, how cool is that?
I got inducted into the Nashville Music Hall of
so
Fame. I didn't
crazy.
even try. I don't even know how that happened.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy. They did this documentary. It's being premiered all over the world. It's actually going to be premiered in LA soon. You can get it on Vimeo online and watch it. And they basically just followed me around, teaching my kids, wanted me to talk about discrimination that I faced as a female, also as an LGBTQer, and asked me all these really cool questions. And then they showed some footage of me and Bev playing in Columbus, Ohio at one of our gigs. And they used at least 2 songs from Hillbilly Swagger's record
great.
on the
Yeah.
soundtrack. So it's really cool. Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, I hope it blows up because I
me too.
have the rights to the Hillbilly Swagger
too.
stuff. Yeah, I'm like, let's make some more money. Hey.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the Dewdrop because we want. When's your like timeline for that?
We're trying to do something to like our friends and family around the 20th, another couple weeks.
Okay.
But we'll be open by the end of October for sure.
Sweet. So super quick.
Yeah, and we got a kitchen in there. Alan from the former Butchertown Pizza Hall is going to come in and do it's called a butcher block at High Horse, and it kind of real similar to the backdoor concept. You go to the window to them to order the food, and we own the bar part. So we just kind of lease the kitchen to them guys.
I love that. Well, that is super cool. Do you have a favorite Phil Collins song that you love?
Man, it's just the cliche "In the Air Tonight," man. That thing.
Okay. We'll have to play that for you because I love "In the Air Tonight" too.
Yeah.
Well, let's kick that in right now, and we can listen to this cool intro. That's nothing but electronic drums. You can hear it right here. I think that's the 808.
Yeah.
I'll have to double check. It's either the 808 or the 909. One of those drum machines.
808 is the more bass.
Yeah, 808's
Yeah.
where we're still using those today. That
Yeah.
bass. Yeah. Check it out. It's Phil Collins in the air tonight. You're locked on to LRS102.com. It's Phil Collins with Sousa Studio on LRS102.com. I wanted to read you this, Denny. It said, in the air tonight, the synth sound, basically, or the drum sound, was made by the Compute Rhythm, which is the CR78, which I actually also have that one, too. So
Right.
I knew it was something I'd heard, before. But, yeah, it's fascinating. Still being used today. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I love that stuff. I love it when things like that happen.
Well, it's like records coming back.
Yeah. Oh man, vinyl never went out in my personal life.
Right.
I mean, I've always had records and vinyl, and it's the best way to listen. You know.
Sure.
In fact, down here, right under my feet, I have. You will love this. First off, I brought in all these old records. I have some of Dolly Parton's first stuff, and I have a version of her doing Harper Valley PTA.
That's very cool.
But Bev, before she passed, gave me her record collection. And she had her hands on some of Wolfman Jack's personal record collection. And it's his radio stuff. It's the stuff like I have XL on Main Street down here given to him by the Stones.
Oh, wow.
And it says
That
for
came by the
promotional
thing.
use only.
Very cool.
So I'm sure it's worth something, But I told Jim, I was like, I got to bring that up in LRS
Right.
and let's spin some of that stuff. It used
What
to be
an
Wolfman
icon.
Jack's.
Wolfman Jack.
Wolfman Jack, one of the best radio DJs known to mankind. You know what I mean?
Him and Coyote Calhoun.
Him and Coyote Calhoun. I had to tell you a story about that Susudia track. About, I think it was last year, I was on Twitter. I love Twitter. And I was on Twitter and I saw CNN say something about, Phil Collins is going back out on tour. So I retweet it and I put Phil Collins is going, or no, he was going back to do another record so he could go back on tour or something like that. So I wrote to CNN and I was like, Phil Collins is going back in the studio, and then all of a sudden a friend sent me an article from CNN. They're like, dude, they quoted you in the Phil Collins article. And I was like, what? And sure enough, it was like, and Jen Yates was excited about it. She said, he's going back in the studio,
That's great.
It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I'm quoted in a Phil Collins article on CNN. I love that. Yeah. You gotta love that guy, man. I hear that he is physically ill and cannot play drums anymore. So
No kidding.
Yeah, well, I heard that a while back, and I only know this because we on the Hillbilly Swagger record, which I'm gonna play here in a minute. We do a tribute to him. It's called we do a tribute for In the Air Tonight. But when I met Bev. She had been on the blues circuit for so long. She had toured with B.B. King and won Grammys with Steve Vai and did all this really cool stuff, but it was mostly in the blues scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, no offense, Bev, but I've toured with the blues scene because I toured with Kelly Ritchie, and I did all kinds of blues venues all over the country. And I was like, blues will always have a special place in music, but the young kids aren't flocking to buy blues, and I said, that you've already got that crowd.
Yeah.
You need to get your crowd, which is the LGBTQ community, because we're like club kids.
Yeah.
We grew up going to places like Connections and seeing the drag shows. And that music is totally different. That's electronic music. It's totally different usually than anything else. And so I said, that's who you need to target. Because she was playing Pride events all over the world.
Yeah.
And she was like, you're right. And I said, you need to step outside your box. Meanwhile, her management was like, no, you're not stepping outside your box. You're going to do another 6th blues record. And I was like, girl, you don't need that. So finally she listened, and I was like, let me produce you in a way that can show that you can do all these other things. You can rap, you know, you can do country, you can write a song, an LGBT electronic song. So she didn't know anything about electronics, but she was open-minded enough to let me try it. And then we did a tribute to In the Air Tonight where we mix electronics with live drums. Yeah, which I think is one of her better tracks. I want to release an isolated vocal track on it because it's so good. Yeah,
cool.
But she always loved Phil Collins, and there was a lot, you know, going on there. And I think sometimes you just, as an artist, you got to get out of that box. You cannot be... You know, and I think you can't be stuck in one genre. You know, you've got to show that you're across the board, that you can do literally everything.
That's kind of what Sturgill was doing.
Yeah, exactly what Sturgill was
Jacket
doing.
does that almost every album.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why they have people paying attention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think on my personal, you know, music career, I have never settled for one band. I've been owned by one group. You know, I've always done side playing with so many. Yeah. You know, and I think that that's helped me get my own name out there rather than just be associated with, you know, because when you hear like any name for any band, you just off the top of your head that's not like super famous that you've heard of, you don't go, oh well, their drummer is so and so. Not many people actually know the drummers, but people like Phil Collins that steps out into the forefront and does his own thing and starts his own thing. You know what I mean? And people, there's a lot of other drummers that have done that. I mean, there's plenty of drummers that we know. If you say the Eagles, you better know Don Henley played. If you say the band, you better know Levon Helm was on drums and he sang. You know. Yeah. But when I started doing that hip hop stuff over top of my drums, I started noticing like a total crowd difference. Yeah. And now I can't go anywhere. I was out at Check's Cafe out in Middletown the other night playing, and some dude was there who I hadn't seen since like 15 years, and he was like, hey, are you going to rap Pussy Control and play your drums over top of it? And I was like, this is probably not the venue for that right now. Yeah, but it's funny though, you know, because people start to associate you with that. Sure. But I used to get on YouTube and look around, and I haven't seen a whole lot of drummers that rap and play. Right. Or trigger electronics and play over top and then rap over top of that. You know, there's not a whole lot of that.
Dundiff does a lot of cool stuff these days though.
Yeah, and Rizzo does too. Yeah. I mean, Rizzo can like, oh, he's so good. Yeah. Yeah. I had him up in the show. It was like a trip, man. You know, how long have you gone back with Ray Rizzo?
Oh, God. I mean, that's...
They used to play there with King Kong, right?
Yeah, King Kong would play a lot. But I guess I knew Ray before that. I mean, Java Man was... I'd see that a lot over at Red Lounge.
Yeah. Oh, the Red Lounge. I love that place.
With 15, 16, 20 years, maybe.
Yeah. Have you been to the Odeon yet?
I've been to Odeon, yeah.
Yeah, have you checked that? I love that venue. Yeah, I think they finally got the noise issue worked out.
Yeah, they're way. Actually, my partner, he's the property owner of that place.
Cool.
And, they were working vigorously together to come to a point for that thing.
Yeah,
so they're gonna be okay. So. They'll be all right.
Good, because I love that place. That is like it's super groovy. It's super 70s. It's super sexy. All the vintage furniture. Yeah. I'd go up there to listen to my friend with DJ up there. Like there's Allison Cross,
dude,
who you know.
The layout of that place is solid. Like,
it is.
It's cool.
Yeah, and I never did quite understand that whole ordeal with the music because Play is right there behind it. So I was like, have you ever stood in the parking lot of Play at 3 a.m?
Yeah.
I mean, it's loud.
Well, and there's a guy that lives in the building. So he made a condo in that commercial building and just didn't foresee ever, you know, the future. Because at one point it was just a music studio again, but there was music going on, but it wasn't like a late night thing. Yeah. And then Odeon opens, which is great for everybody. And he just happens to live next door. And, you know, it's always one of those neighbors.
I know. Well, of course, I'm a drummer, so trust me, I know all about those neighbors. I mean, no neighbor has really loved living next to me.
You know, talk about Ray Rizzo, though. I went up, I was lucky enough to go see, he hooked the deal up for Tyrone Cotton to play the Capitol Theater with J-Rad a few months back, and I went up to see that just solely for that.
Was that in New York?
Tyrone. It was at the Capitol Theater in Port Chester.
Wow.
One of the most iconic theaters in the music industry.
Yeah.
And then J-Rad, Joe Russo's the man. So, and Ray knows Joe. That's how that all happened, and put Tyrone back. Yeah.
I've played several gigs with Tyrone in the day. And we ended up in New York City at the same time. I was playing the Living Room. Mindy Frolic was there. Scott Mertz, that whole crew. Yeah. Back when I was playing the Rockabilly Y&V group. Yeah. Yeah. And Freddie from Bo Deco. I mean, we were all up there. And then all of a sudden here out of nowhere comes like Dave Chandler Chandler, and then it seemed like Tyrone Cotton was with them, and Rob Edwards.
Yeah.
And we just had the biggest party up in New York City, man. I was like, what's all these Louisville people doing here?
Ray is
Super rad.
it's such an integral part of the New York scene.
I know.
Still to this day.
Here's how much of in the scene he is. So I had on this show a lady named Shannon Conley, who is the lead singer of Les Zeppelin, the all-female cover band, all right?
Yeah.
She's also on Broadway, and she toured with Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to her, doing an interview with her and all this stuff, and I post her picture, or I post something, and then she messaged me back, and she was like, wait, you know Ray Rizzo? How do you know Ray Rizzo? And I was like, oh, me and Ray go way back. Like, I stay in his apartment when I'm in New York and all kinds of cool stuff. And then all of a sudden, she's like, we're in a band together in New York City.
That's great.
And I was like, small world, man. You know what I mean? Of course, I'd never even met her before, but I thought, well, of course, Ray Rizzo's in a band with her.
You know, Tyrone told me another story that he was up there playing at Joe's pub or whatever, and Ray had set this thing up, and he said a little bit later, this one was like, hey, you're on up to the bald-headed guy. He's like, cool, I got it. And then come to find out the ball-headed guy was Moby. So he literally met Moby and played right after that night.
Man, New York is such a magical place. It's very
magical.
similar, you know, to... I couldn't live there, but I love to go for like a week or two.
I don't know what it is about it. It's our... implants from here that are up there now. But every time I go up, it just opens its arms for me. Like the coolest things happen in New York City.
Me too.
I don't know what happens to anybody. Some fortunate things I get.
Right. Yeah. I've always had magical times in New York City too. I was just up there last January. I recorded on a record by a chick named Babylon. She put out a record last year called Heart Attacks and Southern Roses. And flew me up there to record on her drum track. And next thing I know, I'm in like the studio where Madonna got her start in Times Square. I flew in, stayed at Ray's Space, and of course it was a blizzard. I didn't check the weather. I'm not the best packer in the world, and I'm not the best let's look at the weather and see what we should wear kind of person. So I fly on a red-eye flight from Louisville to New York City. I fly in. As soon as I land, as soon as I get on the subway and I get to Ray's apartment, I go upstairs and I look out the window and it starts snowing. Well, by the time I'd woken up the next day, entire cars were under snow. And I'm like, I did not bring shoes for this, right? I think I put trash bags on my feet and walked around. But I had to carry my cymbals on the subway and all through Times Square in a freaking blizzard with snow drifts higher than me. And then all of a sudden I get to my location and I'm all stressed out. And they're like, oh yeah, this is where Madonna got her start. You're about to play in the same, the same practice space where she used to practice. And I was like, well, that makes up for it. Yeah. But it was a really cool experience. I've gone to New York a lot. I love to go to the Broadway shows. I saw Rent there, man. I can't even think of all the shows I've
last
seen.
time I went up was, well, not the time before, 2 times ago. I'll go 3 back now. But my friend Jenna Breyer Robinson now, she does Colbert's hair and makeup every day. She's from Louisville.
Yeah.
She worked for the show. Well, I heard Dead & Co. released that shows at Madison Square Gardens, and I had sent her a text. I was like, I'm coming your way, girl. And then she texts back like, how did you know? I'm like, I didn't know what she was talking about. I was like, oh, I just know things. And in my mind, I'm like, I bet Dead & Co. is playing on Colbert. So anyway, she hits me back the next day. She's like, and guess what? So Dead & Co. played on there. They do their 3 or 4 songs. She said, guess who else is playing that day? Because we have to get both in the show. I said, who? She said, Elton John.
Oh, wow.
So I get there, and she meets me outside. And as I'm walking in, I mean, Bill Kreitzon's right there. Bob Weir's right there. And it's a strict thing where you can't communicate. That's what they are. So I go in this hallway, and I'm like, they're all them guys walking through. I'm like, holy cow, the Grateful Dead's my thing. Well, what I didn't realize is what the aura that Elton John puts off. So they're all in his room, not Elton. He's got his own room, but she's doing the hair and makeup for a bunch of his bandmates and stuff. And they were like, they found these mustaches, so they all put all these fake. He's like, we'll see if Elton wants to put on the mustache and do Crocodile Rock for the show, whatever. So he wants to do it. So they all came out and had the Mustangs on. So I'm actually in the hallway when Elton walks down, and there were no pictures or nothing like that. And finally he said, do you mind taking a picture of us? So from me to you, Elton John is right there, and I snapped a picture on one of their phones. And
wow, dude.
But it was Sir Elton John.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
there's
sure.
some sort of
The
presence
original
about him.
diva, man.
All the while, Bob Weir's just right to my other side, which is my,
Yeah.
supposedly the one to me.
Yeah.
Elton
I got
just
cold
stole the
chills when
show.
he said that. I swear there's a spirit in this room.
Right.
I swear, because every time people are telling me crazy stories
Yeah.
like this, I'm just like, I get flushed with them.
It-
And it's not cold in this room. It's hot.
No, it's hot as hell.
That's what I'm
in
saying.
here.
It's hot. No, do you need a fan?
No, I'm okay.
All right, just check it.
I'm okay.
Yeah, but that's badass. So you're standing next to Elton John and Bob
Oh
Weir.
my God! And I mean, in that world, you know. And O'Teal, I knew him from the Allman Brothers, and he used to play with Colonel Bruce Hampton, so the Dead Space player.
Yeah.
And if I could have just had a conversation with him, I know how to talk to him because we shared a night, and it was through Colonel Bruce. But I still couldn't do the communicating. But I'll tell you, it's so cool. You walk through this back room, and I got to watch, you know, the Dead do their 3 songs, and Elton to do his 3 songs. It was like a personal show. The studio audience were there, but
Yeah.
hey, that theater, Sullivan Theater, is not that big.
Oh no.
Not that
Yeah,
big.
no. That's so wild, man. Every time I go to New York, it's
So,
something
and then
magical.
get this. So I met Joe Saylor, which he's the drummer for the Colbert's band.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and John Batiste is the front dude. I met that guy a little bit. And anyway, the next day, Jenna's like, hey, man, and me and Joe hit it off pretty well. He's next day, the show's next day. She said, hey, Joe wants to know if you want to go to the show with him. I'm like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Let's do this. And so I went in. Madison Square Gardens has the band entrances. So I mean, I walked in with Mickey Hart's wife. We had this little lounge area. At one point, I got a wristband just walking around where I can see if I can get anywhere.
Yeah.
Just give me close to the Dead. Please.
Right, exactly. That's
Yeah,
so
but that
cool,
drummer,
man.
he hooked me up.
That's awesome. You know, drummers are pretty cool.
Exactly.
I think they're. I
Exactly.
think they're the coolest in the band. Just saying, they're definitely the most physical instrument in the band.
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? I think out of most all instruments, the drums are the most physical.
Right.
You know? And the drummers are usually the crazy ones. You know what I mean? And the
Man,
party
the
animals.
crazy thing is we got separated, right, at set break. And so I come out and I met some friends and I start to go back into where you're allowed to go. And I had a sticker. I just didn't have the ticket or whatever. And this
Yeah.
guy stopped. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm just going back down here. He's like, how'd you get that? I'm like, well, I got it. But, well, funny story. The drummer for the Colbert Show, blah, blah, blah. And it sounds kind of far-fetched. He's like, oh, really? He called his boss over. And, you know, I'm having a pretty good time. And mentally,
Right.
it's kind of scary to me. Because I'm like, all right, truth will prevail. Truth will prevail.
Yeah.
So this other guy comes over and tells the same story. It's the drummer for Colbert, blah, blah, blah. Finally, they take me down in this holding cell in Madison Square Gardens. I'm like, this is where you go when you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And I talked to the main boss.
no.
I'm like, dude, this is the same thing. I'm like, I know this sounds crazy, but this is what happened. And this guy walks through the door, and he said, what's the problem? He said, this guy, he's like, did you come in with the dude with the cowboy hat? I said, yeah. He said, I remember your Grateful Dead Louisville shirt. He's like, he's not lying. And then they were like, he said, what wristband should I give him? He's like, give him the green one. So that's the one I was running around in, like trying to get anywhere I could go.
That's
I just wanted
hilarious.
to go on stage and hug the Dead, you know?
Yeah. So you didn't get in trouble.
No. I got upgraded.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say
Just
there's only been one time in New York where I almost got in trouble. You'll love this. I got lost in New York City, and that's not good to do when I was slightly inebriated.
Right.
Right. I'm running around New York City. Everybody's looking for this gay guy bar. I got separated from my friends, and I was like, man, I've got to use the restroom really bad. It just hit me all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I have no idea where I am. Nobody anywhere around me. There's no restrooms, and everything that were non-public restrooms. So I was like, I'm just gonna go down this alleyway because I'm straight up country. I was like, I'm gonna go down this alleyway. I'm gonna sneak off to the side. I'm gonna use the bathroom.
Right.
So I drop trowel and I'm right there, and then all of a sudden I look up and there was blue lights right in front of me, and I'm like, oh shit, right? I was like, oh man. So I pull my pants up. There's some lady that gets out the police car, and she's like, ma'am, can you come here for a second? And she's like fingering me over, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to jail in New York City. And I walk over there, and she said, can I see your license, please? And I handed her my license, and I could tell she was probably LGBT. She was family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like just trying to be on my best behavior. And she goes, ma'am, from Kentucky? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, do you know that we don't do that here?
You're like, we don't dare either. I promise.
I know. She was like, maybe y'all do that in Kentucky, but we don't do this in New York City. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm apologizing, all this stuff. And finally she comes back. She goes, you know what? I'm gonna let you go on this one. But she was like, don't ever pee in an alleyway in New York City again. I was like, I will not Thank God I did. I actually got it out though. So after that, I stumbled into some kind of bird cagey kind of thing, and I mean, it was like chaotic and crazy from that moment on. But I'll never forget. I was like, thank God I didn't go to New York City. Could you imagine?
No.
I was like, I can't. Yeah, my mom's court system. I can't call her and be like, Mom, can you bail me out? I'd have just stayed.
Yeah, that's all I could think here in the gardens. I was like, gosh, I said, I know this place, and I know how important it is to this venue to be safe. So just tell me what to do, sir.
Yeah. Somebody told me that not Elton, but Billy Joel plays like either one show a month or one show every 2 months or something at Madison, and it's always sold out.
Well, he had the number one. He had the record for most show sold out.
Right.
That's why Fish did 13 though. Fish did 13 to catch up with him because then they got to make the call of what dates they wanted.
Well,
there was East Side, West Side with that for a minute about getting the venue.
I love that.
Yeah,
It's like
so
some
they did
Biggie
13
and
nights in a row.
Tupac stuff.
Kind of like, whoa.
Yeah, but who knew Billy Joe and Fish would be battling
Right,
it out?
right.
Yeah, you know, I got to play with some of the members from Fish out on tour. Jennifer, Natalie Cressman, trombonist, and Jennifer Hartswick. I got to tour with them a little bit with Freak Bass.
Oh yeah, very cool. Yeah,
we did that Band is Bond, which also had Razor Sharp, who played in Parliament Funkadelic. He passed last year.
Yeah,
he was one of my like 5 musicians to pass within the past year. But yeah, he toured with George Clinton.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, oh God. We'd be out on the road, and my favorite story, we were in New Jersey. We were playing the Brooklyn Bowl in New York City. We'd be out on the road, and sometimes me and him would have to share a bed, and he knew I was gay. So he'd be like, oh, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever slept with. He would always mess with me, and I would mess with him back. But yeah, some of the stories he told me about being, I mean, some of the stuff he saw. He had out-of-body experiences on PCP. I mean, and he'd be like, man, there were one time I was on the stage, and he goes, I look over at our lead guitarist, and he's just standing there like completely out of it. He had taken like heroin or something before they got on, and he didn't know where he was. And he said, yeah, and the show is like just starting in front of thousands of people at some big huge music festival, and he's like, you know, George is going, Razor, get him off the stage, get him off the stage. And he's like pulling him off the stage. I mean, some of the drug stories he had.
Crazy.
Yeah, because if you've ever seen Parliament or George Clinton, you know that.
Oh, it's wild.
Oh, they have like 100 people on that stage. They have chicks and roller skates and thongs and everything else. I mean, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he also introduced me to Bernie Worrell.
Yeah.
You know, they were big buds. They toured together for a long time. And of course, he knew Bootsy Collins. He was a big Bootsy.
Yeah.
Him and Bootsy were buddies. So.
Did you play a minute with Freak Bass this time? You played a couple songs?
I played when Freak Bass was at Zanzibar a couple weeks ago. He called me up and was like, Jen, come down here and play a show with me. And I went down and played a solo, and he gave me a big shout out. And it was packed, man. It was awesome.
What's her name? The chick from Turquoise is in there too. Turquoise is a solid band.
My
man.
Lord.
I love that girl.
What is her name?
Gosh, I don't even
I don't know. She's all in my Snapchat. She was blowing me kisses and all kinds of crazy stuff. Was she the pink one or the brown or the blue one? They wear the same color, yellow or blue. I forget which one she actually wore. She had on green that night.
Okay.
Some kind of little skimpy green something. Yeah. I'd never met her until I got on stage, and I had to share a mic with her, and she was all like, probably for stage show, but she was definitely flirty.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, who is this chick that you're with?
I mean, her band Turquoise is awesome.
Oh, man, she's badass. Yeah, total badass. Yeah, I had a great time that night. Freak had me play a cajon solo, and then I got up and played a cowbell solo.
Oh, nice.
Of course, right? Yeah. It's all on my YouTube.
Yeah.
I love playing with Freak. He's like my brother. You know, when I met him, I was like, of course, we did 170 shows out on the road, so that's a lot.
Right, that is a bunch.
We were out on the road so much, and he already had his touring experience down, and of course, it was one of my first, so I didn't know what to expect, but it was a lot of loneliness and a lot of traveling and a lot of staying by yourself in hotel rooms, and you know, he would kind of teach me things, and we were both huge Reds fans. One of my favorite things about Freak Bass is he plays Reds Stadium all the time.
Okay.
He's written songs for the Reds baseball team.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you know, if you ever go see a Reds game or a Bengals game, you're probably going to run into Bootsy. I mean, he's always at those games. So is Freak. He's a huge baseball fan. So I got to play Reds Stadium, which growing up, I was a huge Johnny Bench fan. I was a huge Pete Rose fan. I loved baseball. And, you know, to get up and to actually play a stadium that you've been watching since you were a kid when you're from a small little town in the country. Cool. You know, it was so amazing, But Freak, he's just so cool, man. And he's
I saw him at Terrapin one time, the first time, a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Terrapin
he loves playing Terrapin.
Terrapin loves him.
Dude, he's got one of the best shows around. I don't know why he's not on he's on bigger stages, but man, for electronic jam band scene, he knows everybody.
Terrapin's always got a good crowd for him.
Yeah.
That's a little monster down there. It's
yes,
really,
it is.
really cool and so open. I mean, it's almost too open at times, but
Yeah, no kidding. Is it? What's that mean? Ooh, is it like
man,
nudity
it's
and fun?
Just all of it.
Oh, that sounds like
all of
right
it.
up my alley.
It's nuts.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, cool. We'll have to check that out. I mean, Freak is he is a freak in nature.
Yeah,
You know what I
without a
mean?
doubt.
He'll call me up and we'll just shoot the shit sometimes. He's been on the show a couple times. I've had him call in. And of course, especially, he comes here to Louisville a lot and he films videos downtown and does all this
Yeah.
like really super rad stuff. You know what I mean? It's super awesome. Anyway, Denny, I'm so happy to have you on my show
I love you,
today.
girl. I
I
love
love
you,
you
girl.
too, man. We've had some of the coolest experiences
Yeah.
ever.
Wait, there's a lot more to come.
I know. I have a feeling there's a lot more to come. Yeah, and it's just now getting good too. In the 40s, and we're rocking it, and we're gonna keep rocking it with some more Genesis, some more Phil Collins all night. This one's No Son of Mine. You're locked on to LRS102.com. It's in the air tonight. That is my girl Beverly McClellan with Hillbilly Swagger with our version of tribute to Phil Collins. How cool is that, man?
Amazing.
Yeah, I know. The Grammy flew off the wall to that one. I will never forget that, man. And then later on, I go on to meet this chick. Her name is Love Beverly, and she has a
no
Grammy
way.
in her pocket.
No way.
Yeah, and she wants me to produce her, so I'm going to. She's from the West End, and she's a hip hop gospel soul artist. She's also a professional dancer with the I think it's Waterworks Company.
Right on.
Yeah, and she wants to dance in some of my videos, and she wants me to produce her stuff.
Very cool.
So it's all magical, isn't it?
Yeah. A lot of
Yeah,
cool shit happening in this town.
yeah, man, it's cool to see you on a hump day.
Yeah, no kidding.
I know. I'm like, where'd my glasses go? I've lost. Oh, they're around my. Yeah, there they are. Hey. Yeah, so we're here with Dennie Humphrey. I'm Jen Yates. You're locked on to LRS102.com, The Walrus. Denny's just doing all kinds of cool things. You've just been doing it, forever, as long as I've been around, at least.
I've been pretty lucky, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you have fun doing what you
I
do.
enjoy every bit of it.
Me
You know,
too.
it's hard to say goodbye to Monkey. That's a big decision. Like, normally they leave me. I don't leave them.
Right, I get that.
But the moment I did it, man, it just kind of, 2 days after I told my family, Brian Goodwin was hitting me up about Jimmy Can't Dance, and it just took 4 months off and dove right back in, and I'm as happy in it now as I've ever been.
Good. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Man, Monkey Wrench holds a special place in my heart. I mean,
Forever.
I've had so many crazy nights up there. I was going to tell you the story about the night I met the spiritual guru,
Yeah.
a Native American guy, in your parking lot. Yeah. I was coming out of I had just seen the Troubadours of Divine Bliss play music, who I love. And I was really sad that night. I think I'd just gone through this big breakup or something. It's been, I don't know, 15 years ago? How long did you run the Monkey
No, we
Wrench?
were there for 2005 through, about
Probably about
13,
2009 is what
12,
I'm
12,
guessing.
13 years.
Yeah.
12, 13.
So this is still a while back, know. Anyway, and I'm going to my car, and I'm all like sad and almost crying, and I'm walking through, and this Native American guy appears out of nowhere. And he's in the whole garb, he's he's dressed up and he's got the stuff going on. And he walks over and he goes, "You're hurting." And he looks at me and I'm just like, ooh, it tripped me out a little bit. And I said, "Yes, I am." And he came over and he gave me this whole, where, the Native American arm shape where they grab like your forearms and not your arms. Did that to me. And he was like, "I'm a spiritual healer. And then he gave me this whole spill. In fact, it was so magical. I said, I was like, "I have to stop you here." I was like, "Hang on a second." And I grabbed my phone and I was like, "I have to record you because I have to remember what you said." It said, and I don't remember anything. So he was like, he starts telling me that I have the music in my soul and that I need to pursue my dreams and then I need to do this and that. And I don't know. He said some kind of magical spell over me, and then he left, and I never saw him again. And I was like, "What was that all about?"
That's crazy. That was without peyote?
Without peyote. I've never done peyote. Can you believe it? Never. Yeah, I swear though. It was a very magical moment. Every time the troops are around, they have magic.
They do.
They bring this crazy
bring that
energy
thing.
magic that is unlike anything else, and just people gravitate toward them. I hope that I always said if I ever go anywhere and get big, I'm going to project them to the skyrocket because they need the world needs them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
If
we're
anything,
fortunate
just
to have them here.
Walk around and play for me at night.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. They're always every time I need them, they just pop up. They're just magic like that. Yeah, they're little unicorns for our community.
Yes,
that's what I love about this city. Of course, you love Louisville more than anybody, and I love that we're both Western Kentucky peeps.
That's it.
Yeah, Bowling Green represent, and I love that you dig government cheese too. Because I mean, Tommy Womack is one of the, when I was growing up, of course, I was in Adair. So if you look at the map, you've got Adair and then Metcalf, where the headhunters are from, and then on down the road, is all those cats that would drive back and forth to Nashville. That's their route. The Cumberland Parkway, right? Yeah. So. There's a lot of great musicians born out of that area. Kentucky, I always say it has some great musicians.
Gosh. Just look out there right now. That's
name
happening.
them. I know.
I mean,
it's
Sturgill,
amazing.
Tyler, Jacket, Cage, Stapleton.
I know.
Those are the ones that are like mega.
Yeah,
top.
I know.
That doesn't even include all the other great ones that are kicking it around us now.
Right. And, I've spent a lot of time in Nashville. I've played down there on and off for many years. And they have great players, but it's a completely different scene down there. You know what I mean? And it's all kind of, it's a format down there.
Yeah.
Like they have the template already made up.
Yeah.
Louisville is a little bit more of a wild card and a dark horse, which is what I like. You know what I mean? You can't come through here and not be good. And people in Nashville will try to come get in this music scene here, and they can't. Because this music scene hires what they know, and we love local here.
Yeah, we really do.
So, I'm not saying that people from Nashville don't ever play here, but I'm talking about on a more of a local level.
It's really hard. Now, Jimmy's, we can pull it off a little bit now, but it's real hard for a local place to gamble on a traveling act.
Right.
Because Louisville supports music now more than ever has. We're getting bigger venues. We're moving.
Right.
But there's not a lot of people that take a risk on a new thing coming through if they haven't heard it or it hadn't already blown up.
Right.
So it's tough to book that. We'll bring them out of Cincy now. My partner Brian Goodwin's real good about picking some people from Chicago, sometimes some New York acts, just to start getting us known in those cities. But it's different for us in that genre of the jazz.
Yeah. And what do you have down at Jimmy's?
We have. I mean, we all over the board, but funk is jazz to us too. So if you've got a horn with you, we're usually down with you. You know what I mean?
I love that. Yeah. So more of the New Orleans-y type stuff, the funk
that's
stuff.
Our favorite is the New Orleans.
The jazz.
Yeah, like Hot Sauce Brass Band with Joey and those guys. And
I was going to say, because everybody on my jazz, of course, all the musicians that are the jazz musicians, they're the ones who I see posting that they're at your space. Yeah,
like Allison and the Billy Goat stuff never gets
Allison
old.
Cross, DJ Alley, also Mike Hood, Ron Whitehead. I'm going to throw him in there, my beatnik poet man. Let's
Craig
see.
Wagner.
Craig Wagner, John Austin Clark. I've seen playing down there. Of course, he runs Bourbon Baroque.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Craig and them and Squeezebot.
Squeezebot. Yeah, we just had Todd Hildreth.
Trios. Yeah, Todd Hildreth, the man. Danny
that cat
Colley.
is amazing. Danny Colley is amazing. Danny Colley, I've recorded with a lot in the past.
Stud, man.
He is a stud. He's
he does the Charlie Brown Christmas with us
man.
every year too now, which is always fun. The Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yeah,
and we'll do 4 nights of that down there during the Christmas week now.
That's so cool. What do you got lined up for Halloween?
You know what we got lined up is a couple of the guys from Tribe Called Quest are playing with an act. They got a 10-piece ensemble that they put together that I don't even know how.
I love a Tribe Called Quest. How'd you land that?
Well, Brian, man, they hit him up and they're like, hey, he's like, you sure? He's like, our place without the tables and chairs, only 100 people. He's like, yeah, we're aware of it. Then they said, well, what do you want us to charge? And he's like, well, what do you normally charge? He said, $10. He's like, that's fine too. But they sold out the first show in like 3 minutes, and they added a 6 o'clock showing. So
sure, and that's Halloween night.
It's October 20th.
20th.
Yeah.
What date? What day is that of the week?
That's a Sunday.
Okay.
It's a Sunday.
I'm taking notes over here.
Right.
I'm like, holy shit, are you serious? Wow. Man, you got it going on with the booking stuff. You always have. You always have.
I know my stuff, but really, with Jimmy's, most of it is Brian Goodwin, man. He's 31 years old, and I'm 48, but he turned 21 in Monkey. That's how I got to him. And that's how he knew to reach out to me later in life when he wanted to do this next thing. He didn't know I was leaving Monkey Wrench, but the timing was right.
You still own the property, though, right?
Yeah, we do.
You just kind of like rent it out, the Vigrets, yeah. I've seen it. What they've done with it is amazing.
Oh, they did a great job.
I love it.
And I always wanted a brewery to be in there.
Yeah,
it always felt like that front
room. It looks
room.
right for a brewery.
False Idols, and they're great, man. They're good at what they do. My sister's vegan, so I'll meet her over there sometimes. But they're what we loved about it most was, oh wow, nobody's doing that. Wasn't your pizza? Wasn't your taco? Wasn't your barbecue? Wasn't your regurgitated normal stuff of the town?
Yeah, man, I was around from the time that you started Monkey, and it was it grew so much, and eventually I loved that you made it animal friendly on the ups, and then you built the rooftop.
Yeah,
I love that space.
That coincided really with the cigarette ban back in the day. You know, I never smoked, but when the band hit, it was kind of like
I remember that.
everybody was hanging out outside, and you know, in the times before, if you were smoking inside, you'd grab another drink. But if you're outside with a cigarette and lost in a long conversation, and you can't get away from the drink, you're just all right. I'm gonna leave now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just started moving because you know we were doing that Barrett Avenue Shake with Woodrow on the radio and Matt Anthony. It was every Thursday night, and the roof didn't exist then. So when that happened, like everybody was hanging out. It was just loitering. But I mean, they were there, but it was like just hanging in the parking lot.
Yeah. That's what made it so cool, though. It was like the cool hangout, and you had the bike nights. I remember all the bikers up there. I drive by my Vespa.
Yeah.
It's some badass bikes up there, too. Yeah, it's a great space, and I'm so excited to get to come to Jimmy Can't Dance and check out some of the stuff going on there. And tell everybody.
That act is called Midnight Hour, is what the Tribe guys are calling it. It's called Midnight Hour.
Okay.
February.
October 20th.
There's only tickets left for the 6 o'clock show, though.
Okay.
But they're on. They got a Tiny Desk out there right now. So if you look up Midnight Hour on Tiny Desk concerts, it's pretty neat.
You had me sold at Tribe Called Quest. I was like, I had their stuff when I was a kid.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, I was in love with them. I loved them. I loved that whole style.
You know, it's real
that
cool
was
too,
like back when
at Bourbon and Beyond, Flaming Lips. You know, they played early in the day.
Didn't they come? I saw you post Flaming Lips, and I was like, "Is Denny saying
literally
that?"
on the stage? Like, well,
I retweeted that
when they played Aircoy, like whatever last year sometime. The keyboard and the drummer have like kind of this little DJ thing they do. And anyway, he was like, "Hey, we're going to shout it from whatever." Well, I'm standing in the middle of that festival, 35,000 people, and Wayne Cohen's like, "Where are we going? Jimmy Can't Dance." He's like, "You know Jimmy? You know Jimmy?" And he's saying this to 35,000 people. My phone immediately just started going, dude, they just said it. I'm like, what a great night that was.
Wow, I bet. Did you do real good that night?
I don't know if I'm dancing on the Baby Grand on my stage, something's happening.
Right. Do you have a real
happened.
Baby Grand?
Yeah.
No wonder all the piano cats hang out
Right.
down there then.
We're we're trying to bring this Wurlitzer down because it's a funner piano.
Yeah.
So we're in the process of maybe selling it just to give us more room on the stage.
Oh, yeah. How big is the
Wurlitzer's
stage?
cool. Oh, it's pretty damn big anyway. We've had 9 pieces on there real easy.
Yeah.
So I would say it's easy. 14 foot by 14 deep.
Yeah.
It's pretty wide. It's wide as
You know, I was do you know what a Farfisa is?
Uh-uh.
I own a 1962 Farfisa. You're talking about the Wurlitzer and the grand piano.
Yeah.
It's one of the first synthesizers ever made. The Doors are very famous for using it.
Okay,
you know,
yeah, I know it. I know
it's
the
that
sound.
little cool. It's got 3 different
Yeah,
colored
I
like
know the
keys on
sound.
it, and
Yeah.
it's got the little switches like an organ, so
Yeah.
you can make it like flute or all these weird sounds.
Super
and
cool.
Yeah, it's so rad. And everything is compact. I mean, but the thing weighs like 300 pounds. You know, you don't really want to haul this
you
thing
can't
everywhere,
road-
but
road with it.
to set
We do
somewhere
have
up-
an
Yeah.
elevator though.
Oh, good. Are you upstairs?
No, we're downstairs, but
Okay.
there's an elevator connected to the building that you kind of enter through the law offices next door, but it works
Yeah, cool.
to load in and load out.
All right. Well, I wish you much success in that. I think that's so cool. But
Thanks.
the Farfisa, man, that's a cool instrument. Check that out.
Yeah.
Also used on Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Used to sit around and play with that. I did a lot of the record stuff with it.
Yeah.
We would mix the 62 with like an iPad beat. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like old school versus new school and try to get some kind of different sound out of stuff. Yeah.
It's cool.
So, yeah. Anything you want to promote?
No,
coming up?
just well, other than that Grateville Giving is November 30th on Barrett Avenue. It's where the Squally's Puppeteers and the Highlands Community Center is. And High Horse is coming soon.
What's across the street there? I just noticed a bakery or something
it's,
going in there.
Wilshire Pantry has a coffee bakery out of there.
Okay, and
So
what
it's
about
catty
the
corn.
and what about the new? What is that new little
Shop bar?
Yeah, shop bar.
I
What
was
is
there the other night.
that?
It's really cool. Gerald and Natasha put it together, and just a real cool. It's a shop. Like she does, sells like they both. It's kind of like a vintage clothing store on one side and the bar on the other side, and it's all kind of tied together in one little layout. It's an old garage.
so
and I'm
cool.
a sucker for old garages anyway.
Yeah, me
It
too.
was actually,
In fact,
originally I wanted that to be the Monkey Ranch.
yeah. Oh,
when we
yeah.
first looked
that
back in the days.
location.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I looked at that location to store my bus at.
Oh, really?
I did because I was like, it was an old garage and it was kind of small, and I was like, that'd be perfect for my bus right there.
Yeah, and now they
You know,
got
I
that
bought-
food truck bus in the back.
Yeah, I got a 73 camper bus, a
No,
Volkswagen.
no.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I've got
awesome.
it's in the Highlands.
That's very cool.
Yeah, we'll have to take it out. I want to like fix her all up. Like
Yeah.
she's a beauty, man.
Nice.
The 73, it's the West Farias or whatever. The top like pops up and there's a
Yeah.
bed in the back. It's
Yeah,
got
that's cool.
Yeah,
I wanted to
needs
get
some work.
a big train of Volkswagens and a Patty's Day parade for Greatville next year. Just a bunch of hippies.
Let's
walking
do
down
it,
the street.
dude. This one led the Pride Parade that set
I know two
history this
other
year.
people that have some vintage ones.
Yeah, once you buy those things, I'm all of a sudden in all these secret clubs now. It's like these
Right.
secret Volkswagen historic clubs. It's
Yeah.
got all these, and I see all the pictures. I'm like, wow, this is cool. I was like, how'd I get here? And they're like, well, you're welcome to the club, kid.
Right.
You just bought a historic vehicle.
You're welcome now.
Yeah, I'm like, thanks, man. Appreciate it. But there's a really cool Volkswagen club around town here, run by Francis and Timothy Abbey.
Okay.
And I used to teach him drum lessons, so
Okay.
I knew this. And he
Yeah.
has a camper bus, an old one, and she's got 3 or 4 awesome vintage bugs. One she just went out and got in California and drove it all the way here.
Wow.
Yeah, but when you're driving those things around, people want to stop and talk to you and tell you that
They really
their
do.
parents had it and they've traveled across the country
And all ages of them. The
all
ones from the
ages, I
80s down to
agree.
the 70s, you know?
Yeah, it's a magnet,
Yeah.
that thing. It really is.
I
And
love
you
that.
forget what
Even
you're
the-
driving when you're driving it, because I'm used to just driving a regular car. So I'm used to driving, nobody paying attention. You're in that thing and everybody's just like
Right.
zoned in.
Right.
All eyes are on you. It's so crazy.
I've never
And
seen one on the street, but there's a lot of the new, like they say they make a modern day one of those.
They are
pretty expensive.
electric.
Those things, yeah.
Yeah.
Haven't
With
seen
the
one
I
yet.
think I heard too that they've got the Tesla hybrid
Oh, right.
stuff, like technology in them.
Yeah.
Now, can you imagine
That's
that?
cool. No,
way
that's
cool.
awesome.
And before they gutted mine, the people who had it before me, there was a Murphy bed, a stove, and a sink in there as well.
Right.
It's still got the pump run for the sink. So I'm like, can you imagine that?
That'd
You
be
got
awesome.
2
I'll
beds.
just move
They
in
are
that thing for a
literally
while.
meant to like camping.
Yeah, that's what they're meant.
That's exactly right.
Town
well,
to
Dennie,
town.
it's been awesome having you on my show today.
My
I hope
pleasure.
you have the best Wednesday ever. I hope we run into each other later
Yes.
on at the Phil Collins
I do
show. I'm
too.
so
I'm
pumped
doing
about
I'm
that.
doing my best to work my way out.
Yes, exactly. And I want you to tune back in tomorrow. You never know who the guest is going to be. I appreciate you coming in. Enjoy your day.
Too.
You're listening to LRS102.com, The Walrus, Louisville's Rock Stream. I'm Jen Yates. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night. And as always, keep it groovy.